Think of the most terrifying prehistoric monsters: massive teeth, brutal claws, absolute killing machines built to dominate everything they touched. But if their designs were so flawless, we have to ask why evolution completely scrapped their blueprints. To find out, we need to stop evaluating them as Hollywood movie monsters and start looking at them as biological economies. We need to measure their daily caloric overhead against their actual long-term survival rates. This graph tracks the history of Earth's top predators over millions of years, mapping them directly against major extinction events. Notice the recurring anomaly in the data. Whenever a species hits peak lethal specialization, its longevity drops off a cliff. Building an extreme, highly specialized physical weapon strictly limits a species' ability to adapt when the environment shifts. We are going to strip away the pop culture hype and examine the harsh biomechanical reality of three specific animals: the T-Rex, the Deinonychus, and the Quetzalcoatlus. We aren't lucky they died out. The exact traits that made them terrifying guaranteed they would go bankrupt. Take the T-Rex, for example. Evolution heavily invested biological resources into combining multi-ton gigantism with extreme, almost impossible stealth. Forget the thumping footsteps and roaring from the movies. It had thick, padded feet to mask its approach. Instead of a roar, you would feel a deep, low-frequency rumble vibrating in your chest before you ever saw it. Look at the massive scale of this skeleton compared to the person working underneath it. Moving this frame silently requires specialized muscle. As a hunting strategy, the outcome was highly successful. A predator the size of a bus could silently ambush and disorient its prey before striking. But that capability comes with a steep metabolic cost. To power the dense, fast-twitch muscle mass required to move quietly at that weight, the T-Rex had to consume a catastrophic amount of calories every single day. That high overhead creates a severe systemic vulnerability. If a drought or disease thins out the local prey population even slightly, a predator with this massive daily requirement starves quickly. The T-Rex was a high-risk caloric gamble. When the ecosystem disrupted, it had absolutely zero physical buffer to fall back on. Next, look at the Deinosuchus. Its core evolutionary strategy was to take the standard crocodilian body plan and drastically scale it up. Modern crocodiles are already lethal, efficient hunters that dominate their local waterways. Now picture that exact same build stretched to over 30 feet long, generating enough bite force to hunt apex dinosaurs like the T-Rex. The immediate payoff is total invulnerability to contemporary predators and absolute physical dominance of wetland ecosystems. But scaling up purely for physical power forces a harsh environmental trade-off. Reaching that immense size takes decades. That creates an incredibly slow maturation rate, leaving the animal vulnerable for years before it can finally reproduce. It also mandates strict living conditions. A body this heavy requires deep water coastal environments to support its mass and execute its ambush hunting style. If minor climatic shifts alter water levels or dry up those deep channels, their viable habitat is instantly destroyed. They cannot migrate across dry land to hunt elsewhere. Absolute physical dominance creates absolute dependency on a static environment. Over deep time, that makes the animal biologically fragile. Finally, consider the Quetzalcoatlus. It achieved multi-domain mobility, combining cross-country flight with the ability to sprint on all fours on land. To pull that off, it required this massive and highly specialized structural wingspan. The hunting capability was unmatched. It could silently glide long distances to spot targets, dive, and then aggressively run down terrestrial prey on the ground. But when you push the absolute maximum limits of biological aerodynamics, you sacrifice physical durability. To get a creature this massive off the ground, every ounce of excess weight has to be eliminated. It survived on paper-thin hollow bones and zero protective fat reserves. That structural compromise means a single minor injury removes its primary advantage. A tripped sprint or a bruised wing grounds the animal completely. With its intense metabolic demands, the inability to fly guarantees immediate starvation and death. By heavily overinvesting in extreme mobility, it stripped away the basic physical durability required to survive normal everyday accidents. When you evaluate the collective failure of these predators, a clear pattern emerges. Let's map long-term impact on this evolutionary survival matrix, plotting lethality against adaptability. T. rex, Deinosuchus, and Quetzalcoatlus sit in the top left quadrant, highly lethal, completely lacking adaptability. At the bottom right, modern survivors like smaller crocodilians and birds succeeded with low lethality but high adaptability. It makes sense to be glad these specific prehistoric monsters are gone, but the reality is their high-cost specialization meant they were always going to be evolutionary dead ends. The next time you see one of these skulls in a museum, look past the terrifying teeth. Think about the massive, fragile margins required just to keep that weapon fed. The true winners of history are rarely the largest or the most intimidating. Nature doesn't reward the perfect killer. It rewards the adaptable, efficient survivor.